So, adhesives. We don't always think of adhesives as the exciting part of card making. We like to get all excited about the stamps and the stencils and the inks and all the pretty things. But adhesives can be a really useful tool in your craft room, and I want to give you some creative ways that you can use them. So here I have two different sizes of foam adhesive from scrapbook.com. I'm going to show you how you can use these foam adhesives for shaker cards and just some other ideas. Now, foam adhesive is pretty straightforward. It's a double-sided adhesive that has some dimension to it, kind of like a foam. You can bend it, you can work with it, and it can give some dimension to your cards. I like to pop up lots of different elements on my cards, and here on this card front, I've got some flowers that I have varied the height using foam adhesive, and I want to pop up this card panel onto a card base, and I love this 2-inch foam adhesive for popping up your front card panels because it gives a nice even background for your card panels, so they're not sagging or anything when you send them through the mail. It gives a nice stable background, and it covers most of your card front. So 2 of these foam adhesive panels will cover my back of my card. You can also use craft foam, but the double-sided adhesive is so easy to use. It's easy to cut with a scissors and just add to your cards. I'm lining it up here with my card base, and I'm just going to go ahead and press it down, and it gives some really nice dimension to the front of my card. Like I mentioned, I have some of those flowers on there popped up with foam adhesive as well, so it gives some dimension. Now here are a few more cards that I've already made. You can see these little pigs and all of these accessories are popped up with foam adhesive. It just gives a little bit more dimension, really makes your cards stand out. You can also use foam adhesive behind your sentiments. This big XO sentiment, I've cut it out, popped it up with foam adhesive, and here's the first one that I showed you. Some of those elements are popped up. Another card that I have here to show you that I've used a little bit of foam adhesive on are these shaker cards. So I've gone ahead, cut out those words, and I've made shaker cards on the inside with foam adhesive. You can make really tiny windows, or you could fill large areas. And so I think foam adhesive is a necessity if you are wanting to make shaker cards. So I'm going to make a shaker card here for you, and I'm going to show you how foam adhesive can be used with your shaker cards. Now I have this roll of foam adhesive. This is their 7mm foam adhesive, and it's a little bit thinner, which is great for shaker cards because you can just go ahead and enclose your whole shaker window area that you want to add glitter into. Now I need to put a window in my shaker cards. You always need a window. So the packaging from these foam adhesive bags actually work really well. That's what I'm using for my window today. I just cut down a little piece, and I'm going to glue it on the back side of these words, and I'm going to make a shaker card. I'm using some of my liquid glue going around the edges of these words so that I can adhere my clear plastic window to it. Now, liquid adhesive, there are some different things and techniques that you can do with liquid adhesive as well. Maybe I'll make another video on that in the future, but today I'm kind of focusing on just foam adhesive and some double-sided adhesive, showing you a few ideas with that. So now that I have my adhesive down around my letters, I'm going to glue down my little shaker window, and like I mentioned, I'm using the packaging from my foam adhesive for this. So I'm just going around the edges here, making sure that it's completely glued down, and then I'll trim off the extra plastic that was hanging off. So here comes my foam tape. I'm using this narrow foam tape to make a sort of enclosure around my cutout words here. And I want to make sure that all of my foam tape is touching. I don't want any gaps because gaps can let your shaker bits fall out. Now you can use any kind of shaker pieces. You can use glitter, confetti, even little gemstones, but you do have to want to keep in mind that if you use tiny bits of glitter, it's more likely that they are going to fall out. So I like to use sequins and larger pieces of glitter. I find that that's easier to keep all enclosed in my little shaker areas. So to make sure that I have some nice even support on the back of my card, I'm also adding some larger pieces of foam adhesive. And I'm just cutting some of those larger pieces down with my scissors and adding them around the edges of my card. I've scooped in my little shaker bits there, and I'm making sure that everything stays right where I want it to go. And the easiest way for me to put this onto a card base is to take my card base and push it into my shaker piece, so I don't have to try to flip my shaker card and then get glitter all over the place. Now a lot of times I'll put my shaker cards into my MISTI and line it up that way. This one ended up being crooked anyway, so I cut it down and I remounted it on another card base. There's always ways that you can fix your mistakes, so even if you mount your shaker card crooked, just go ahead and cut down that back piece and mount it on a new card base. I'm also using a little bit of that foam adhesive to pop up my supporting sentiment, and this just shows you some different ways you can use your adhesive. Foam adhesive obviously is great for adding some dimension to your sentiments and your stamped images, but it's also great for making shaker cards. Now the second type of adhesive I want to show you, this is double-sided adhesive. This has no dimension. It's just basically clear adhesive that is sticky on both sides. Now this is a really great adhesive for a lot of different techniques. I like the narrow strips when I'm doing dimensional projects. So I am making a shadow box card here. This is a die from Heffy Doodle, and I'm going to use this double-sided adhesive. I believe it's the 1/4 inch width, and I'm just going to use this to adhere my sides together. Now you can see here that I've put it on the little flaps that are going to adhere together. It's great because it fits right inside those little folded areas so that you can adhere your dimensional projects together. It's double-sided, it's really sticky, it's got a strong hold. So this is the adhesive that I typically grab for when I'm doing a shadow box or a box or a dimensional project, and it works really well. Now I do like to take my folding tool and just kind of burnish this adhesive down a little bit. So after I stick it onto my cardstock, I'll just rub it with my folding tool, and that'll get that adhesive to stick to the paper, and the backing paper will actually peel off a little bit better. So that's a fun little tip for you guys. If you have problems peeling off that backing paper, make sure you burnish the adhesive down really well before peeling it off, so that adhesive will stick and the backing paper will come off. You can also use it for just flat layers of cardstock if you don't want to mess with liquid glue or you don't want to risk having any of your paper warp. This is not liquid, so it won't warp your paper. So you can also use it for just flat layers of paper. I'm going to go ahead and finish assembling my whole shadow box die here, and these different layers I'm also using this double-sided adhesive on. I'm putting some of this 1/4 inch adhesive on each of these flaps, and I'm just sticking it all together. Now another thing that I really like about this adhesive is, although it has a very strong hold once it's pressed together, if you put it onto your projects lightly, you can carefully reposition it. It is not meant to be repositional, so I don't want to say that it will always work. You do have to be really careful. But while I was making this shadow box card, I was able to sort of reposition some of those layers on the inside a little bit better before I really stuck down that adhesive. So you'll see me here kind of fiddling around with my shadow box die. I am taking off all of that backing paper, and I'm getting ready to just fold this shadow box together to make sure everything sticks together. So I'm going to put the sides here together and all of my inside layers. First, I'm going to go ahead and just adhere my outside layers together. Get those together, line them up, and then press that adhesive down inside. And then with those little layers, I didn't press it down completely until I was sure that's where I wanted each layer to go. And now you can see as I'm kind of repositioning those layers, getting them where I want them to go, I'm pushing down on that adhesive. So once all of these little areas are firmly pressed into the cardstock, they're going to stay right where I put them because this adhesive really does stick very well. And you can see here my finished product. I love these little shadow box dies and making dimensional projects, so that double-sided adhesive really works for that. Now, if you want, scrapbook.com does have thicker double-sided adhesive. Now, obviously, this is not going to fit onto some of those dimensional projects where you have those tiny little flaps, but if you wanted to cover the back side of a piece of cardstock, you absolutely can, and this is handy for a few reasons. You can go ahead and do different layers of cardstock with this, just covering the whole back of your cardstock, and every square inch of that cardstock is going to be adhered down. But you can also use this to make die cut stickers or some other really fun techniques. So I'm going to show you here. I'm just going to burnish that adhesive down into the cardstock, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine with some of these small hearts. Now I'm making sure that the adhesive is going to be on the back side of the hearts. And after I have them all cut out, then I'm going to have some cute little heart stickers that I can then just go ahead and adhere to my project. So I've got them cut out here. I'm going to pop them out of the die, and on one side is that bright cardstock, and on the other side is my double-sided adhesive. So I love using this adhesive on the back of my really tiny die cuts because not only can you make some really fun stickers, but if you don't want to mess with liquid glue getting all over the place, this adhesive is going to stay right where you put it, and you can just stick it to the front of your cards, make little stickers for your kids or your friends, and it's just a really handy little tool. So I'm going to put some of these little hearts on the front of my card here, my shaker card, and I think it looks really fun with that shaker, and it makes a really bright and colorful Valentine's card. Now there are a few other techniques you can do with this double-sided adhesive. I know this video is already getting a little bit long, so maybe I'll have to make another adhesive video in the future if you guys are interested. If you like this, if you want more ideas, make sure you leave a comment, like this video, subscribe, and tap that bell for notifications so you don't miss any more videos from me. So I'm putting some more of this really wide double-sided adhesive down onto my cardstock. As always, I'm burnishing it down with my folding tool so that adhesive will really stick and the backing paper will peel off easily. And I love this, cutting this out with my dies with the adhesive on the back side, especially for really small die cuts, like these really thin and skinny alphabet dies. So like I mentioned with the hearts, if you don't like messing with liquid glue on tiny die cuts, kind of getting a mess with that liquid glue, this works really well to get that adhesive on the back of those tiny dies so you can just go ahead and stick it onto your project. I'm cutting out the word love here, and every one of these words has that adhesive on the back side of the letter, and they're going to completely stick down to my paper. So I'm just going to grab one of the simple scrapbooks journaling cards here, and I'm going to show you how easy it is just to stick these down. Once you've die cut these with the adhesive on the back, they're just like a sticker. You can add them to any project, whether you do albums or cards or scrapbooking or anything, and that the adhesive is really going to hold. So with these, I just put them down. I didn't push them down into my cardstock very hard. I just let them set on top there, so if I need to reposition my letters, I can, and then once they're where I want them, then I push them down a little bit more firmly so they'll stay. So I hope this video has given you some ideas on using adhesive creatively in your craft room. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, share, tap that bell for notifications, and just do all the things. I'll catch you guys next time.